Have you ever encountered someone who seemed to possess an almost supernatural ability to peer into your soul? That unsettling moment when you realize they're not just hearing your words, but understanding the thoughts you haven't even voiced yet. You might be dealing with an INFJ, and while they're often portrayed as gentle empaths and wise counselors, there's something distinctly unnerving about their abilities that can leave even the most confident person feeling strangely vulnerable. It's not just their intuition or their empathy, it's the way they combine these traits with a strategic mind and an unwavering sense of justice that can make them truly formidable when crossed. The quiet observer who sees right through you. In every social gathering, there's usually that one person who seems to fade into the background, yet somehow manages to become the keeper of everyone's secrets. That's often an INFJ, the rarest personality type, making up less than 1% of the population. But their rarity isn't what makes them remarkable. It's their ability to observe and absorb information on a level that borders on the metaphysical. They notice everything: the slight tremor in your voice when you discuss your career, the way your smile doesn't quite reach your eyes when you talk about your relationship, the subtle shift in your posture when a certain topic comes up. These quiet observers don't just collect random details, they process them through a sophisticated internal system that connects patterns most people would miss. They might notice how you use humor to deflect from serious topics, or how your enthusiastic descriptions of future plans mask a deep-seated fear of commitment. What makes this truly unnerving is that they don't need years to figure these things out sometimes. Just a few conversations are enough for them to construct an eerily accurate profile of your inner world. But it's not just about observation. INFJ possess an internal database of human behavior that they've been building since childhood. They've spent years studying people, noticing patterns, and developing an understanding of human nature that goes far beyond simple psychology. This means they're not just seeing your current behavior, they're also predicting your future actions based on patterns you don't even realize you're following. The mirror that reflects your hidden self. Perhaps the most discomforting aspect of interacting with an INFJ is their ability to reflect back parts of yourself that you've either hidden away or never fully acknowledged. It's like standing before a mirror that shows not just your physical reflection, but every layer of your psychological makeup. They don't just see your carefully constructed public persona, they see the scaffolding behind it, the mechanisms that keep it in place, and the true self you're trying to protect. This mirror effect isn't always gentle or comfortable. Sometimes an INFJ will reflect back something so accurate and raw that it feels like an invasion of privacy. You might find yourself wondering how they knew about your deepest insecurities or your most closely guarded dreams. The truth is, they didn't need to be told. They pieced it together from 1,000 tiny clues you didn't even know you were leaving behind. What makes this ability particularly unsettling is the INFJ tendency to use this insight with surgical precision. They might casually mention something that hits so close to home it leaves you speechless, or ask a question that cuts straight through your defenses to the heart of an issue you've been avoiding. And they do this not with malice, but with an almost clinical detachment that makes it even more impactful. The dark side of empathy. People often romanticize empathy, particularly the deep, almost psychic level of empathy that INFJ possess. However, there's a shadow side to this gift that few people consider. INFJ don't just understand emotions, they experience them, as if they were their own. This means they're not just sympathizing with your pain, they're feeling it, processing it, and understanding it in ways that even you might not. This deep emotional understanding comes with a heavy price, both for the INFJ and for those around them. Imagine someone who not only knows your emotional triggers but has experienced them firsthand through their empathic connection. They understand the architecture of your pain, the structure of your fears, and the blueprint of your vulnerabilities. This knowledge gives them an almost uncomfortable level of power, the ability to heal or harm with surgical precision. The darkness of this empathy extends beyond just understanding emotions. INFJ often absorb the emotional energy around them, which means they're carrying not just their own emotional baggage, but pieces of everyone else's too. This can lead to periods of emotional overwhelm, where the lines between their feelings and others become blurred. During these times, an INFJ might withdraw completely, or, in extreme cases, lash out with an accuracy that's both impressive and terrifying. The door slam when silence becomes a weapon. The INFJ door slam is perhaps one of the most misunderstood and feared aspects of this personality type. It's not a simple act of ghosting or temporary silent treatment, it's an emotional and psychological severance that runs far deeper than most people can comprehend. When an INFJ initiates a door slam, they're not just closing a door, they're dismantling the entire emotional infrastructure they built around that relationship. This process is both intricate and final, like watching a master architect deliberately deconstruct their greatest work. What makes the door slam particularly unnerving is its thoroughness. INFJ don't just stop communicating, they systematically remove every emotional connection, every shared memory, and every potential future scenario involving that person from their internal world. It's as if they're performing emotional surgery, carefully extracting every trace of the relationship while leaving their core self intact. This isn't done out of spite or anger, it's a survival mechanism, a way of protecting themselves from toxic connections that threaten their emotional well-being. The truly frightening aspect of the INFJ door slam isn't its finality, it's the fact that it comes after countless unheeded warnings. INFJ typically spend months or even years trying to communicate their needs, set boundaries, and salvage relationships before resorting to this nuclear option. By the time they actually implement the door slam, they've already processed the grief, accepted the loss, and moved on emotionally. This means that when it happens, it feels sudden and unexpected to the recipient, even though the INFJ has been telegraphing this possibility for ages. The strategic mind behind the gentle facade. Beneath the warm smiles and compassionate eyes of an INFJ lies a mind that operates with the precision of a supercomputer. Their ability to process and analyze human behavior goes far beyond simple pattern recognition. It's a sophisticated system of understanding that combines emotional intelligence with strategic thinking. INFJ don't just observe people, they create detailed mental models of how individuals function, complete with prediction algorithms for future behavior. This strategic capability becomes particularly apparent in how INFJ handle complex social situations. They're constantly running scenarios in their heads, playing out different conversational paths and their potential consequences. It's like they're playing a complex game of human chess, always thinking several moves ahead. This might mean carefully orchestrating group dynamics to avoid conflict, or strategically sharing information to guide a situation toward the most harmonious outcome. What makes this strategic mind truly formidable is how it operates in tandem with their emotional intelligence. INFJ don't just predict what people will do, they understand why they'll do it. They can map out the emotional causality of human behavior with frightening accuracy. This means they not only see the moves being made on the social chessboard, but understand the psychological motivations behind each one. The perfectionist's paradox. The INFJ drive for perfection extends far beyond their own personal standards. It radiates outward to encompass their entire sphere of influence. This isn't the typical perfectionism that manifests in color-coded calendars or meticulously organized spaces. Instead, it's a deep-seated need to perfect the human experience itself. INFJ see the potential in everything and everyone, and they feel an almost overwhelming compulsion to help realize that potential. This perfectionist tendency becomes particularly intense in their relationships. INFJ don't just see people as they are, they see them as they could be. This vision is both a gift and a burden. They can spot the smallest seeds of greatness in others and instinctively know how to nurture them. However, this ability can create an uncomfortable dynamic where the INFJ is constantly aware of the gap between someone's current self and their potential self. The paradox lies in how this perfectionism affects their relationships. While INFJ are incredibly accepting and understanding of human flaws, they simultaneously maintain an unwavering vision of what could be. This creates a strange tension where they fully accept you as you are, while never quite letting go of what you could become. It's like being loved unconditionally while also being held to an impossible standard. The emotional time bomb. The image of INFJ as perpetually serene empaths masks a more complex reality. They're emotional pressure cookers capable of volatile reactions when pushed too far. Their natural tendency to absorb and process others' emotions, combined with their own deep-feeling nature, creates a potentially explosive situation. It's like watching a master juggler keep dozens of emotional balls in the air, knowing that a single misstep could bring everything crashing down. What makes this aspect particularly dangerous is how well INFJ typically manage this emotional load. They can maintain perfect composure while processing immense emotional complexity, making it easy to forget just how much pressure they're under. But this seeming stability can be deceptive. When an INFJ finally reaches their breaking point, the resulting emotional release can be overwhelming, not just for them, but for everyone in their vicinity. The explosion, when it comes, isn't just a release of their own emotions. It's a culmination of every feeling they've absorbed, every injustice they've witnessed, and every frustration they've internalized. The scary part isn't just the intensity of these moments, it's the precision with which an overwhelmed INFJ can identify and articulate exactly what led to this point. They don't just explode, they provide a detailed analysis of every contributing factor, often leaving others feeling exposed and vulnerable. The intuitive detective. An INFJ intuitive abilities go far beyond simple gut feelings or lucky guesses. Their minds operate like sophisticated pattern recognition systems, constantly collecting and analyzing data from their environment. Every conversation, every gesture, every slight change in tone becomes a piece of evidence in their ongoing investigation of human nature. This makes them particularly adept at uncovering hidden truths and motivations, often before the people involved are aware of them themselves. What makes their detective work particularly unnerving is how they combine different types of information. They might connect a casual comment you made months ago with your current behavior, add in their understanding of your typical patterns, and come up with insights that feel almost psychic in their accuracy. It's like having someone read not just your current thoughts, but your entire psychological history. This investigative ability becomes especially prominent when INFJ sense incongruence or deception. They have an almost supernatural ability to detect when something doesn't add up, and they'll quietly gather evidence until they can construct a complete picture of what's really going on. The truly frightening part isn't that they can do this, it's that they often choose to keep their discoveries to themselves, waiting for the right moment to reveal what they know. The chameleon effect. The INFJ chameleon-like ability to adapt and blend into different social environments is perhaps one of their most unsettling skills. This isn't simply about being socially adaptable, it's about their capacity to completely transform their outward personality to match the needs and expectations of those around them. They can shift their communication style, energy level, and even their apparent personality traits with such seamless precision that it can leave others questioning which version, if any, is the real INFJ. What makes this ability particularly disconcerting is the depth at which it operates. INFJ don't just mirror surface behaviors, they intuitively understand and adopt the underlying emotional and psychological patterns of their environment. They can walk into a room and instantly assess the emotional atmosphere, then adjust their entire presence to either harmonize with or subtly influence that atmosphere. It's like watching a master actor who doesn't just play a role but becomes it entirely. The scary part isn't just their ability to adapt, it's how this adaptation can make others feel deeply understood and connected to the INFJ, even when the INFJ is essentially wearing a carefully constructed mask. They might present themselves as an energetic optimist in one setting, a thoughtful intellectual in another, and a nurturing confidant in a third, with each persona being equally convincing and authentic feeling to those around them. The truth seeker's burden. The INFJ relentless pursuit of truth goes far beyond simple curiosity or academic interest. It's a fundamental drive that compels them to dig beneath surface-level explanations and comfortable illusions to uncover the raw, often uncomfortable realities that lie beneath. This truth-seeking tendency extends to every aspect of life, relationships, society, human nature, and even their own psyche. It's like they're equipped with an internal radar that constantly scans for inconsistencies between what appears to be and what actually is. What makes this aspect of INFJ particularly intimidating is their unwillingness to accept comfortable lies or half-truths. Once they sense there's more to a situation than what's being presented, they become like spiritual archaeologists, carefully excavating layer after layer of meaning until they reach the bedrock of truth. This process can be uncomfortable for those around them, as it often brings to light aspects of reality that others prefer to keep buried. The burden of this truth-seeking nature becomes especially heavy when INFJ discover truths that others aren't ready to face. They often find themselves in the difficult position of having to decide whether to reveal what they know or maintain peace by keeping their insights to themselves. It's like being a keeper of secrets that could either heal or destroy, depending on how and when they're revealed. Walking paradoxes. The paradoxical nature of INFJ creates a unique kind of psychological tension that can be deeply unsettling to both themselves and others. They embody seemingly contradictory traits with such natural ease that it challenges others' understanding of human nature. They can be the most empathetic people you'll ever meet, while simultaneously maintaining an emotional distance that feels almost clinical. They're capable of deep, authentic connections, yet can disconnect completely when necessary. These contradictions manifest in numerous ways throughout their behavior and relationships. They're intensely private individuals who somehow end up knowing everyone else's secrets. They're gentle souls who can deliver devastating emotional truths without flinching. They're idealists who can be surprisingly pragmatic when needed. It's like watching someone operate in multiple dimensions simultaneously, seamlessly shifting between seemingly incompatible states of being. The truly unnerving aspect of these paradoxes is how naturally INFJ embody them. They don't see these contradictions as contradictions at all to them. It's all part of a complex but coherent whole. This ability to reconcile apparent opposites gives them a perspective on life that can make others feel like they're missing some fundamental understanding of reality. And the power of perception. An INFJ perceptive abilities extend far beyond simple observation into realms that often feel supernatural to others. Their perception operates on multiple levels simultaneously. They're not just seeing what's happening now, but understanding the historical context that led to this moment and anticipating the ripple effects that will flow from it. It's like they're reading a book while simultaneously understanding its entire literary lineage and predicting its influence on future works. This multi-layered perception becomes particularly powerful in interpersonal dynamics. INFJ don't just see your current emotional state, they understand the complex web of experiences, beliefs, and fears that created it. They can trace the trajectory of a relationship from a single interaction, often predicting its eventual outcome with unsettling accuracy. This ability makes them particularly adept at identifying patterns in human behavior that others might miss entirely. What makes this perceptive power truly formidable is how it combines with their pattern recognition abilities and emotional intelligence. They don't just collect random observations, they weave them into complex tapestries of understanding that encompass both individual and collective human experience. It's like they're constantly building and refining a comprehensive model of human nature, with each new observation adding another layer of depth and nuance. Final warning signs when an INFJ becomes truly dangerous. The true danger of an INFJ doesn't lie in their abilities themselves, but in what happens when these abilities are channeled through the lens of betrayal or moral outrage. A healthy, balanced INFJ uses their unique combination of skills to heal and guide. However, when pushed to their limits or confronted with what they perceive as a fundamental moral violation, they can become formidable adversaries. The warning signs often appear subtly at first: a slight withdrawal, a deeper silence, a more penetrating gaze. These might seem minor, but they indicate that the INFJ is shifting from their typical nurturing mode into something more analytical and potentially defensive. It's like watching a master martial artist shift from a teaching stance to a combat stance. The change might be nearly imperceptible, but the implications are significant. The most dangerous scenario isn't when an INFJ is openly angry, it's when they go quietly calculating. This is when they're most likely to employ their full arsenal of abilities, their deep understanding of human nature, their accumulated knowledge of others' vulnerabilities, their strategic thinking, and their ability to predict and influence behavior. It's a combination that can be devastating when turned towards self-defense or justice-seeking. The path forward: understanding and alliance. The key to navigating a relationship with an INFJ isn't to fear their abilities, but to understand and respect them. These unique individuals possess a combination of traits that can seem intimidating, but these same traits make them invaluable allies and profound agents of positive change. Their ability to see deeply into human nature, combined with their natural inclination toward healing and growth, makes them powerful catalysts for personal and collective transformation. The most productive approach is to embrace authenticity in your interactions with INFJ. They'll know if you're being genuine anyway, so attempting to maintain facades or manipulate situations will only trigger their defensive mechanisms. Instead, view their abilities as an opportunity for deeper understanding and personal growth. Their insights, while sometimes uncomfortable, can offer valuable perspectives on yourself and your relationships. Remember that an INFJ power comes with its own built-in limitations and safeguards. Their deep empathy and strong moral compass typically prevent them from using their abilities maliciously. They're more likely to employ their skills in service of growth and healing than manipulation or harm. The real challenge isn't protecting yourself from an INFJ abilities, it's being ready for the depth of understanding and authenticity they bring to relationships. In conclusion, the question of when to fear an INFJ might be better reframed as when to appreciate their unique gifts and when to be prepared for their intensity. Their combination of emotional intelligence, strategic thinking, and pattern recognition makes them powerful allies or formidable opponents. But their natural inclination is almost always toward growth and healing rather than harm. The true power of an INFJ lies not in their ability to cause fear, but in their capacity to guide others toward greater understanding and authenticity.